All right. So I want to talk about how God will often bring you back to a familiar environment that you might associate with, like a desert season or a season of bondage, to actually restore what was stolen to you or to restore what belongs to you, right? Because a lot of people know that God will deliver us out of the house of bondage, just like He delivered the children of Israel out of Egypt. And then they'll say, okay, now that God has brought me out of this place, I'm never going to go back. And I'm realizing that that isn't always true. Because oftentimes, the very place that God brought you out of is actually where your purpose or your destiny or just things that belong to you reside. And I'm going to use the story of Moses, for example, right? Because Moses had originally fled from Egypt after killing an Egyptian. He does not go back to Egypt for, I think it was 40 years. He probably thought that he was never going to go back. Because, mind you, Pharaoh was actually trying to catch Moses for killing the Egyptian. So Moses is basically running for his life. He's able to escape from, again, a place where his life was being sought, and probably thought that God had miraculously saved him and that he was just never going to go back. The first part was true. God did miraculously save Moses, but the latter part of Moses never going back to a place where he had to flee for his life, that part wasn't true. The reality is that Moses' purpose as a leader, as the one who was to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt, was directly tied to the place that God had delivered him from. And so what the Lord was showing me is that sometimes if God delivers you out of a toxic environment, it could be a school that you transferred from, it could be a job that you recently moved on from, it could be friends or relationships that you thought were simply over. Sometimes God is literally going to bring you back to the very same person, the very same place, the very same environment that He actually brought you out of, because there's something about that person, place, or thing that is tied to your story as a human being, right? Also understanding that, as it is written, the thief must restore 7 times what he has stolen. And so oftentimes, if you have been brought out of a place of bondage or a desert season, but there are things that belong to you, or things that were even stolen from you, that are still stuck in that place of bondage or that desert place, God will often bring you back because you dropped some things that belong to you. And God's not just going to allow you to continue the rest of your life when there are things that definitively are yours that just so happen to have been dropped off or left in that season of bondage or in that environment of bondage, right? Like, sometimes you got to understand that, like, yes, I know God brought you out of that place, but there are some things that, again, either you left or that were stolen from you, that you have to go and reclaim. That God has to restore it back to you, but the way He's going to do it is by bringing you back to the very place that He brought you out of, right? Because understand, Moses, the first time he left Egypt was by himself, but it's almost like he left the millions of other people that were there. So the second time he came back to Egypt, he ended up leaving again, but with what belonged to him, or basically his people. He left the first time by himself. He left the second time with a multitude. And so I'm realizing that that's how God often operates. It's like, okay, I'm going to bring you out this place by yourself. It's going to be a one and done type of thing, or as far as you think, it's going to be a one and done type of thing. But the second time around, because there's a lot of stuff that belongs to you that you left, this time around, I'm going to bring you back. But when you leave, you're going to leave with abundance. You're going to leave with a lot of stuff, right? And so the key takeaway here is, do not think, if God has brought you back to a place that He delivered you from, do not think that God's just bringing you back to try you again. excuse me, do not think that God is just bringing you back so that you can suffer again. Oftentimes, the only reason God brought you back is because there is a lot of things that belong to you. It could be purpose, it could be your destiny, it could be physical items that you left. It could be memories that you left, things that you need, that God needs you to pick back up so he can restore you, that you left. And so you may have left in a hurry, you may have left in a haste the first time, but the second time around, God's like, okay, I'm going to bring you back because there are some things that you need to pick back up, things that I need you to pick back up, so that when you leave the second time, you leave completely restored, completely refurnished, lacking nothing.